So, we meet again. Hey you guys, we'll be getting started in 5 minutes at the usual time, 2 o'clock, East Coast time. It's July 2nd. Happy July 2nd to Julie, Josh, and Abby, and Ian and Erica, drinking smoothies. Miriam, how you doing? Glad to see you. Everybody's here. Ansh, Tyler, how you doing? 44 people here. Gianluca and Matteo. Well, as everybody files into the room, Alex and Antonella, Tyler in New York. Isaac, how you doing? Good to see you. Glad you could make it. Peter and Ben, Michigan. Hi, Bryce. Haley and Liliana in California. Maddie, did you hear? Liam and Lexi. Jack and John. Good to see you. Luca and Hudson, every day listening. Thank you. Hope you're watching too. Billy the cat. Bridget from Iowa. All right, 76 of us here. Odie, you still have time. Hey, Billy. Billy Sickles, you still have time to call your friends, your relatives, Kevin, Annie, Carolyn, Brandon. Call your friends, your enemies, Annabelle, Clara, and Lisa, your cousins, your nephews, your nieces, Philip, Billy Bob. Get them in here. It's not too late. We still have a few minutes to go. Olivia. Hey, Bryce. Glad you can make it. Dacon, Nora, Eloise, Philip, Shelby, Hadley, and Brady from Texas are here. And let's see, we got about 3 minutes to go. Lyra. Glad you can all make it today. Oliver. Theo in New Jersey, every day. Hey, me too, what a coincidence. Emmett in Wisconsin is here, and so is Leo. No, I already said Leo. Aylin, Mineola. Aaliyah and Alexandria, and the Maslowski kids from Fresno. Sanvi in Massachusetts is here. Yes, so glad you could all make it. Alex and Zach. And Brooke and Kayla are here too. So let's see, we got about 2 minutes to go, a little bit more. Grant Jackson. All the presidents are here. Victor from Nevada. Ethan and Hayden. Hi, Sarah. And Amelia and Kieran. Sammy, Daniela, and Eden from Atlanta. Okay, we got less than 2 minutes to go. Zachary and Shannon. Glad you can make it. Ainsley and Lila. Hi. Philip and Joseph. I wonder if there's a lot of people who are typing things that I don't see. I bet there's a lot of you, and if so, I apologize because I think I don't see everybody. Anyway, we got a minute and a half. So, Ayla, sorry, that one could by too fast. Lucy from New Jersey. Hi, Melissa. The Smith kids from Texas. They're always here. Are they ever not here? Okay, Janelle and Isabella from Massapequa, and Shrija and Mira. Ryan, hi. We got less than a minute to go. Okay. Hi, Adam. Adam in Ontario, Canada. California. Skyla. Okay, great. Cooper and Hudson. About half a minute to go. The Shoemaker kids, Keely, Brennan, Casey. I didn't catch the last one, sorry. Hello, Matt Perlman. Hello, Matt. Matt interviewed me the other day. Good to see you again. Hudson, Carter, and Nora from Illinois. We've got, 15 seconds. Okay. Okay. Hey, Colin and Cora. I think we're just about ready to get started. We got, 6 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's go time, baby. Hi, Dan Gutman here. I'm the guy who writes the My Weird School series. And welcome to number 78 in my Weird Read Aloud, heading for number 100 at the end of the month. And our question, let's get right to our question of the day. It's from Chris. Chris asks the question, why is the letter W the only letter that is multiple syllables and describes its shape more than its sound? And why isn't it double V? That's an excellent question, Chris. And the answer is, I have no idea. Okay, let's get to our book of the week, which is the My Weird School Special. We're Red, Weird, and Blue. What Can We Do? In honor of the 4th of July coming up on Saturday. And as you know, if you've been following, Dirk School and Elementary School are locked in the President's Day Challenge, where the winning school is going to win a trip to Disneyland. And it's a big competition. And Peter Porky of Porky's Pork Sausages is the moderator. He's asking trivia questions about the presidents. And in round one, Dirk started off with a slim 4-3 lead. Right, so now we're going to start round two today. So you guys ready? That's going to be chapter what? Chapter 8 today. And chapter 8 is titled Round 2. So gather around your big screen TV, your laptop, your tablet. Let's go. Ready? Okay, said Mr. Porky. Round 2 will be the lightning round. We're going to get struck by lightning, I asked? Everybody laughed, even though I didn't say anything funny. Andrea rolled her eyes and slapped her own forehead. This is going to go fast, said Mr. Porky. You only get 5 seconds to answer each question, and each question is worth 2 points. I'll tally up the points at the end. Andrea leaned over to me. Arlo, you've got to get your act together, she whispered. You haven't answered any questions. Chillax, I replied. Here's Jim's picture of Andrea yelling at AJ. She's mad. Okay, elementary school started round 1, said Mr. Porky, so Dirk's school will start round 2. Ready? Ready, Morgan shouted. Tommy picked his nose. Name a president who won a Grammy Award, said Mr. Porky. Bill Clinton, shouted Morgan. Right, said Mr. Porky. Elementary, which president proclaimed the first Thanksgiving? George Washington, shouted Andrea. Right, said Mr. Porky. Which president worked at Baskin-Robbins and collected Spider-Man comics? Barack Obama, shouted Morgan. Right, said Mr. Porky. Who was the first president to live in the White House? John Adams, shouted Andrea. Right, said Mr. Porky. Whose face is on the $5,000 bill? There's a $5,000 bill? James Madison, shouted Morgan. Right, said Mr. Porky. Besides President's Day, what other holidays fall in February? Asked Mr. Porky. Super Bowl Sunday, I shouted. Everybody laughed, even though I didn't say anything funny. I'll give that one to you, said Mr. Porky. I was thinking of Valentine's Day and Groundhog Day. Dirk, who is the shortest president? James Madison, shouted Morgan. Right, said Mr. Porky. He was only 5 feet 4 inches tall. Elementary, which president was shot a year before Abraham Lincoln? I looked at Andrea. She shrugged her shoulders. It was... Time's up, said Mr. Porky. It was Abraham Lincoln. Another trick question. He was riding a horse when a shot rang out. It didn't hit him, but the bullet hole went through his hat. I knew that, Andrea said, pounding the table. And here's a picture of Andrea and Morgan Brocklebanker. They're answering all the questions while AJ and Tommy just like sit there because they don't know anything. Okay. Dirk School, said Mr. Porky. When Washington became president, how many real teeth were in his mouth? 1, shouted Morgan. Right, said Mr. Porky. Which president had grizzly bear cubs that lived in a cage on the White House lawn? Thomas Jefferson, shouted Andrea. Right, said Mr. Porky. What treat did James Madison's wife, Dolly, serve at his inauguration ball? Ice cream, shouted Morgan. Right, said Mr. Porky. Which president had a bullet in his shoulder for most of his life? James Monroe, shouted Andrea. He was shot during the Revolutionary War. Right, said Mr. Porky. Name 3 presidents who died on the 4th of July. John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and James Monroe, shouted Morgan. Right, said Mr. Porky. Wow, I said, which is Mom upside down. I had lost track of the score, but Morgan and Andrea really knew their stuff. I was pretty much useless to our team, and Tommy just sat there. Mr. Porky continued. Which president used to go swimming naked in the Potomac River? John Quincy Adams, shouted Andrea. Right, said Mr. Porky. Which president was only president for a month? William Henry Harrison, shouted Morgan. Right, said Mr. Porky. Which president had the most children? John Tyler, shouted Andrea. Right, said Mr. Porky. How many children did John Tyler have? 15, shouted Morgan. Right, said Mr. Porky. Where did Abraham Lincoln store his mail, his bank book, and important papers? In his hat, shouted Andrea. Right, said Mr. Porky. Who was the first president to have a telephone in the White House? Rutherford B. Hayes, shouted Morgan. Right, said Mr. Porky. Who installed Rutherford B. Hayes's telephone? Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone, shouted Andrea. Right, said Mr. Porky. What was Rutherford B. Hayes's phone number? It was 1, shouted Morgan. Right, said Mr. Porky. Which president owned 80 pairs of pants? Chester A. Arthur, shouted Andrea. Right, said Mr. Porky. Who was the first president to ride in a car? William McKinley, shouted Morgan. Right, said Mr. Porky. Which president is responsible for the invention of the teddy bear? Teddy Roosevelt, shouted Andrea. Right, said Mr. Porky. Which president, legend has it, got stuck in a White House bathtub? William Taft, shouted Morgan. He weighed over 300 pounds. Right, said Mr. Porky. Which president had a flock of sheep mow the White House lawn? Woodrow Wilson, shouted Andrea. Right, said Mr. Porky. Which president had the biggest feet? Warren Harding, shouted Morgan. Size 14. Right, said Mr. Porky. Name the presidents who were elected in 1860 and 1960. Lincoln and Kennedy, shouted Andrea. Right, said Mr. Porky. Which president had a secretary named Kennedy? Lincoln, shouted Morgan. Right, said Mr. Porky. Which president had a secretary named Lincoln? Kennedy, shouted Andrea. Right, said Mr. Porky. Name 2 presidents who had vice presidents named Johnson. That would be Lincoln and Kennedy, shouted Morgan. Right, said Mr. Porky. Doesn't that take the cake? What did cake have to do with anything? Why is everybody always talking about cake? Which president had a bowling alley installed in the White House? Harry S. Truman, shouted Andrea. Right, said Mr. Porky. Which president worked as a fashion model and appeared on the cover of Cosmopolitan magazine? Gerald Ford, shouted Morgan. Right, said Mr. Porky. And who makes the best pork sausages? Porky's, we all shouted. Right, said Mr. Porky. Okay, that's the end of round 2. Whew, that was intense. Let's all take a deep breath, and then I'll tally up the points. Whew. The audience clapped and cheered for 1,100,000 seconds. Finally, Mr. Porky looked up from his score sheet. The scores are Dirk School, 38 points, and Elementary School, 33 points. Dirk has a 5-point lead going into the final round. All the Dirk kids started hooting and hollering. Morgan Brocklebank sneered at me and made the L sign with her fingers. Andrea looked really mad. We're losing, she said to me, and it's all because of you, Arlo. Don't you know anything? I can't carry the team all by myself. I wanted to say something mean to Andrea, but how could I? She was right. I didn't know anything. We were getting crushed, and it was my fault. I wanted to go run away to Antarctica and live with the penguins. Penguins don't have to know about the presidents. I'm not even sure if Antarctica has a president. This was the worst day of my life. All right, that's chapter 8. Ready for chapter 9? All the marbles. Okay, it all comes down to round 3, announced Mr. Porky. The last question is for both teams. Write your answer on the sheet of paper in front of you. It's worth 6 points. Ooh, everybody oohed. Dirk has a 5-point lead, continued Mr. Porky. So if both teams get this question right, Dirk wins. If both teams get it wrong, Dirk also wins. If Dirk gets it right and elementary gets it wrong, Dirk still wins. But if Dirk gets it wrong and elementary gets it right, elementary school wins. Does everybody understand? Yes, I lied. We have to get this one right, Arlo, Andrea whispered to me. Okay, said Mr. Porky. This one is for all the marbles. Marbles? What did marbles have to do with anything? Get ready to lose, losers, said Morgan Brocklebank, rubbing her hands together. This will be the icing on the cake. Why is everybody always talking about marbles and cake? Was the winning team going to get marble cake? I was confused. In the audience, nobody was making a sound. It was so quiet, you could hear a pin drop. That is, if anybody had brought pins with them. That would be weird. But everybody was on the edge of their seats. Well, not really. There might have been a few little kids on the edge of their seats, but most normal-sized people were just sitting in the middle of their seats. Anyway, it was really tense. Andrea picked up our pencil and got ready to write the answer. Okay, here's your final question, said Mr. Porky. And before I give it to you, let me just say that Porky's pork sausages will be on sale at your local supermarket next week. Everybody laughed, even though he didn't say anything funny. Okay, here's the final question, said Mr. Porky, reading from a card. My birthday was January 17th. My wife was named Deborah. I played the violin, the harp, and the guitar. I was a slave owner. I died when I was 84 years old. Who am I? You have 30 seconds. That annoying music from the TV show Jeopardy started playing. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. I looked at Andrea. Do you know what it is? I asked. No, she replied. Do you? No. Of course you don't, Andrea said. You didn't know any of the answers. I looked over at the Dirk dorks. They were whispering to each other. 20 seconds left, said Mr. Porky. You're the smart one, I whispered to Andrea. You memorized the encyclopedia. You keep a dictionary on your desk at school. Your parents got a tutor to teach you all about the presidents. How can you not know the answer? I just don't, okay? Andrea whispered back angrily. You're part of this team too, you know. You were supposed to help, Arlo. Maybe if you weren't making paper airplanes and goofing off all week, you would know the answer. 15 seconds left, said Mr. Porky. That dumb Jeopardy song was still playing. Do, 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 do. Why are we wasting our time arguing? I whispered to Andrea. We should be trying to come up with the answer. I saw Morgan Brocklebank write something on her paper. She and Tommy probably knew the answer. They were going to win. We had nothing. 10 seconds left, said Mr. Porky. Do, 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 do. Any ideas? Any ideas? I whispered to Andrea. No, she replied angrily. Just write down any president, Arlo. I don't care anymore. We lost. It's over. Thanks for nothing. Andrea looked like she was going to cry. I had never seen her like that. She always wins at everything. 5 seconds left, said Mr. Porky. Doot, 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 doot. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I had to think fast. I was concentrating so hard that my brain hurt. That's when I got the greatest idea in the history of the world. But I'm not going to tell you what it is. Okay, I'll tell you. But you have to read the next chapter. And we're going to read the next chapter tomorrow. Chapter 10, which is titled, The Big Surprise Ending. All right, so tomorrow we're going to read chapter 10, and we're going to finish this book tomorrow. And, speaking of tomorrow, are you guys going to watch Hamilton? Did you hear that Hamilton is going to be on Disney Plus tomorrow? I saw the play in New York. It was fantastic. If you saw the play or if you're into it, you got to watch this on TV. And if you're a big Hamilton freak like me and my family, well, you might want to check out my book, Flashback 4, The Hamilton Burr Duel. It's all about the duel. The play itself is really about Hamilton himself. There's only a little part about the duel. My book is entirely about the duel. So if you're into Hamilton, check it out. Okay, so our joke of the week, our joke of the day, here it is. Our joke of the day is from Stacy of the Glass Gang in New York. But she claims that she got the joke from a friend in Arlington, Virginia. All right? Okay, here's the joke. What do you call a hot dog race? What do you call a hot dog race? Wiener take all. All right, now I know why they're blaming it on their friend in Arlington, Virginia. Okay, so before we get off the couch, before we do anything, next week's book is going to be Mr. Cooper is Super. We're going to read this one next week, starting Monday. But in the meantime, let's thank Josh Salzman and Ryan Cunningham for our theme song. You know it. You love it. Let's do it, okay? Man, oh man, is that man nuts? My weird school, a million hundred hours long. My weird school, where normal things do not belong. My weird school, where art is cool, and the teachers are strange as a rule. And my weird school, oh yeah, it's my weird school. All right, you guys, see you tomorrow, same time, same place, and wash your hands like crazy and read like crazy too, okay?